What's up, guys? So if you spend much time in social media, you've probably noticed the growing trend of light caps and hex caps showing up on all kinds of builds, purportedly to reduce signatures from reflected light. One company in particular seems to be at the head of this trend, 100 Concepts. Now, reducing your light signature is a great idea, but it raises the question, what are you giving up? In the case of light caps, for example, you are potentially introducing a new liability, namely that you can't use your light cap when you need it. Kind of like a manual safety on a handgun, it's great when it prevents NDs, but not when it prevents regular Ds. In my opinion, it's nothing a little training can't fix, especially combined with clearer doctrine around when you should deploy your light cap and which state, covered or not covered, you should keep it in as a default. I don't think we have that clarity yet, at least in the civilian world, but light caps are common enough that I'm sure it will come around if this trend is here to stay. So what about these funky hex caps? You can still use them when the cap is deployed in front of the lens, and they do seem to cut down on the forward reflection. So, what's the trade-off? Well, put simply, light transmission. When you put a screen in front of your scope, and that's what a hex cap is, it limits the light that comes through. But by how much? Now that's an interesting question. Well, the Scope Cap Pros from 100 Concepts have the hex caps integrated into the cap. And 100 Concepts sent me one for my VGOG, so I took it out to the lake to do a little testing. By the way, I'll use Kill Flash, Scope Cap Pro, Hex Cap, all interchangeably in this video. So in this footage, you can see that I have the light cap on to start with. So it's a little darker than it would otherwise be. And then when I remove it, you can see that it gets brighter. Okay, fair enough. So here I'll put them side by side with the light cap and without. And I'll even blow the images up so that you can see the differences a little bit better. Okay, so this is helpful, but I want some real numbers. Like, what percentage of light are we sacrificing when you deploy the kill flash? And I actually think that I can answer that. Now, I'm sure that there are official ways to measure this kind of thing in a lab with fancy equipment. I don't have all that, but I think I can get a pretty good answer with just a still image and some of the cool functionality from Microsoft PowerPoint. First, let's grab a still from the side-by-side. Next, we'll add a black background to behind the image on the right, which is the scope without the hex cap / kill flash. Now, if we want to know how much light is being restricted by the kill flash, I can adjust the transparency of the image on the right until the two images match in brightness. Like here, I have 10% transparency, which is essentially making the image 10% darker because of the black background I put behind it. Now, it still looks brighter to me here, so let's take it up to 20% transparency, which again is 20% darker, and equivalently, if my method is correct, represents 80% of the original light transmission. So 20% seems a little bit too dark, so let's bump it up to 85. And now we're pretty close. I'm still not satisfied though. I think we can be a little bit more precise here. So what I want to do is use the eyedropper. Bear with me for a second here, guys, to measure the color differences between the images looking at the same patch of sky. For those of you who don't know, the eyedropper allows you to determine and match color codes exactly with anything inside the slide pane. To ensure I'm measuring the same patch of sky on both sides, I'll add this little box, and I'll use the eyedropper only in the top right corner, like this. Now, and that color from the eyedropper is what I'm going to display above the picture in a large rectangle. So again, what I'm doing here is I'm showing the color from the top right of each of these boxes displayed in larger form in the top of the page so that you can see the difference in shading. Look primarily for which one is darker. And of course, right now with 100% brightness, I haven't changed the transparency at all. The one on the right is much brighter, but as we darken the image, that top will get darker as well. So this gives you a clearer idea of the differences in brightness from the same part of the picture looking at with the kill flash and without the kill flash. And this should help us distinguish between pretty fine differences in brightness. Let's first confirm our rough estimates from before. So here's 90%. Yep, too bright. 80%, too dark. 85, close, but still a little bit too dark. So let's move up by 1% increments. 86%, better. 87%, ooh, that's close. 88, 89, okay, definitely too bright with 89. Let's go back to 88. 87, 88 again. Yeah, so 87 seems to be the winner here. Still not perfectly the same color, but it's very close. So based on these findings, I would say the Scope Pack Pro, at least for the VCOG, cuts down your light transmission by about 13%. And I'd be pretty confident to say at least between 10 and 15%. Now, I really don't know if there is an officially posted stat anywhere, so I don't know if I should be checking this against something. I didn't look that up ahead of time because I didn't want to bias the test. So at least I'd say that these are independent results. So what do you think, guys? I thought this was a kind of cool experiment, and hopefully we've all learned something. I want to switch gears for a second here and go back to the larger discussion around trade-offs, specifically around light caps. Do you guys see the light caps as more of an asset or a liability? And if you do run light caps, do you default to having the lights covered or uncovered? This is something I've been thinking about, and I'm curious what the folks here have to say. I haven't seen a lot of discussion around this yet, so maybe we can kick that off here. Jump down to the comment section, let me know what you think. Thanks, guys. Till next time, I'll catch you later.